Bismillah. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu salamu ala rasulillah, ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala, thumma amma ba'd. To proceed. So today, inshallah, we will talk about some pertinent issues here that you may find practical. I know that sometimes we talk about things that are not practical to the majority of you, but this is going to be a little different because it may be practical to the majority. The two chapters that we will address here are the chapter of Sabaq, which is prize money, and the chapter of al-Wadi'a, which is deposits for safekeeping. First, the chapter of Sabaq. Al-Imam ibn Qudamah, rahimahullah, said in his book Umdat al-Fiqh, Babu al-Sabaq, the chapter on prize money, وتجوز المسابقة بغير جعل في الأشياء كلها. Competitions which do not involve prize money are permissible in all fields. Competitions are permissible in all fields if they do not involve prize money. What did he mean by this? He meant in all permissible competitions, not competitions in everything, because there are things that are not permissible. So the first thing that whenever we talk about prizes in competitions, draws, awards, loyalty programs, all of the stuff we will talk about today. But whenever we talk about these things, the first thing that we will have, the first bifurcation here, because if you really want to get fiqh down, you have to always think in algorithms. You have to always have algorithms in your mind, mental algorithms, but divisions, classifications. So the first bifurcation here is what? Is this activity in and of itself halal or not halal? Is it halal or not halal? If it is not halal, then you cannot compete in something that is not halal. For instance, and I know that this may be a little bit controversial. Boxing is not halal to strike people in the face. And I know that this will break the heart of many people, particularly on this side. But it is not really halal to strike people in the face. There are certain things that will be controversial. Car racing, for instance, would be controversial. Why? Because there will always be controversy once you don't have something clear from the Prophet ﷺ, clear in the revelation, whether in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Once you don't have something that's clear, then there will be controversy. And once that you will have something that is subject to human judgment, human assessment, that subjectivity will create controversy. I would say that car racing is dangerous enough to be at least disliked. Someone else may say, no, it has great benefits and they take a lot of precautions, and then they may come up with statistics that a lot more people die on the highway than they die on those tracks and all of that stuff, and they may think that car racing is just fine. But like when the Prophet ﷺ forbids hitting or striking the face, and your very sport is about striking the face, that is a conflict that's hard to reconcile. That is hard to reconcile. But when it is up to sort of human assessment, it is. Do you remember my post when Muhammad Ali rahimahullah died? That basically tells you what my position. So it is one of the ironies of life is that you love someone who is just known for like a sport that you hate. The celebrity of Muhammad Ali comes, but really the celebrity of Muhammad Ali does not really come from the boxing ring only. It comes from, his humanity. It comes from his legacy. It comes from his positions, his firmness, his commitment to the truth, a lot of things. But to the world, he is known for boxing. He's known for his boxing career. Anyway, so boxing in and of itself is not permissible. It's not permissible to strike someone in the face. Therefore, when we talk about competition here, that's the first bifurcation. This will come out from, this will be excluded. And anything that involves something that is prohibited will be excluded from the discussion. Obviously, common sense, right? Will exclude everything that is not permissible to begin with as an activity, will exclude it from the discussion. Then we will say, as the Sheikh said, aside from that, aside from impermissible activities, everything else that is halal, it is halal to compete in. Competitions which do not involve prize money or jewel are permissible in all fields. So if you don't have to say, can we have like a basketball tournament? Well, certainly you can. There is no problem in basketball per se, and there is no problem in competing, and there is no problem for recognizing the winner. But once you say, can we have an award for the winner, then we will have this discussion. Then this discussion now will become pertinent. Because we're talking now about awards. We're not talking about merely competing. The Prophet ﷺ used to race with Aisha, or raced with Aisha. Salam ibn al-Aqwa used to race with people on foot. He was extremely fast. He used to race with people on foot. And in the presence of the Prophet ﷺ without any censuring or condemnation from the Prophet ﷺ. Therefore, all competitions and all permissible things are permissible if there are no awards, no prizes. Then the Sheikh said, وَلَا تَجُوزُ بِجُعْلٍ إِلَّا فِي الْخَيْلِ وَالْإِبِلِ وَالرَّمْيِ لِقَوْلِ رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا سبق إلا في خف أو نصل أو حافر. Prize money or jewel is permissible only in horse racing, camel racing, and archery. The Prophet ﷺ said there should be no prize money, sabaq, in competitions except in camel racing, archery, and horse racing. Horse racing, camel racing, and archery. Okay. And this hadith is an authentic hadith. So what did the Prophet ﷺ mean by this? There should be no prizes, no awards except in these three. Horse racing, camel racing, and archery. 1, 2, 3. Shouldn't give prizes. So can we expand from this or can we not? Are we allowed to expand this? Well, okay. Well, the Malikis and Shafi'is and Hanbalis said that they are limited to these, and they found the common denominator. And the common denominator was preparation for jihad. Preparation for jihad. That's the common denominator they found in these three. Once you find the common denominator, this is the manat, right? This is basically the cause behind the permissibility in these three alone. Can you expand a little bit? The Malikis, Shafi'is, and Hanbalis said, well, okay, we will expand it a little bit. Some of them, at least, not all of them, but some of the Shafi'is and Hanbalis in particular said that we'll expand it a little bit to include, things like elephant racing. Elephants can be used in war also, and things of that nature. So, but they expanded them, and instead of throwing arrows, throwing spears, which is what, spear what? Competitions in throwing spears. Just like they moved it a little bit, but still within the same realm. But they showed a little bit of flexibility. It doesn't have to be arrows, it could be spears, it doesn't have to be camels, it could be elephants. Yeah.
The original word nasl is for arrows or like slingshots?
Nasl is for arrows. Yeah. Not simply shots. Nasl is the arrows, not shots in general. So they expanded it a little bit. Now, then, based on this, that's it. You got all of the other. But then the Hanafis said, and you will find that Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah chose the Hanafi position here. The Hanafis said that Islam does not only prevail by the sword, that memorization of the Quran and the Sunnah and all of these things are means to the intellectual struggle, means to preparation for the intellectual struggle. Therefore, you would allow these things as well. Memorization of the Quran and the Sunnah. So competitions in the Islamic sciences. So the Hanafis and Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah expanded this, or not, the Hanafis, and then Ibn Taymiyyah chose that position out of the four madhahib. He chose the Hanafi position, expanded this to intellectual sort of competitions. Now, having said that, does that include basketball? Okay. Well, will it include chess? It depends on how flexible you are, I guess. So, can basketball help with physical fitness? And isn't that what is intended here by allowing the sort of horse racing, camel racing? Not really, that's the fitness of the horse. But the rider has to be fit as well. But the rider is really inconsequential in horse racing, and even if the rider dies, the competition will go on because another rider, it's about the horse mainly, not the rider. But anyway, this is so someone can be a little bit more sort of flexible and expand this. It's not like flexible in a bad way, by the way. It's just like, someone can say, well, the Prophet ﷺ meant by this sort of preparation for jihad, and isn't it part of your preparation to be physically fit? And if it is part of it, then anything that would get you there should also be encouraged. And how do you encourage those activities? By allowing prizes and awards for the winners in those competitions. So they expanded this to include sort of like soccer and basketball and all of those things. Chess would be helpful. Well, if you go here and you say intellectual stamina and sort of astuteness, and we could add this as well. But that is, but then there ought to be some things that will have to be excluded, right? Because at the end of the day, no matter how flexible you are, there will be a point where something will not make any sense. Like certain games, for instance, that it's not obvious how they contribute to your physical or intellectual fitness. They'll have to be excluded. And in this case, we will say the Prophet ﷺ, because that hadith has to mean something at the end of the day, right? لا سبق إلا في خف أو نصل أو حافر أو نصل. There is no prize money except in horse racing, camel racing, or archery. That hadith has to mean something at the end of the day. So it means that you should not be, at least if you're very flexible, it will mean that you should not be promoting frivolity. You should not be promoting nonsense, waste of time, things that are distractions, and they do not contribute to your physical or intellectual fitness. At least remember that. At least remember that there are certain things. We'll take all the questions afterwards. Unless it is to clarify something ambiguous I said. Is it to clarify an ambiguity? Okay, go ahead.
You say we can expand categories to those things like physical and intellectual fitness. Does the intention have to be there that it's for the preparation of jihad?
Well, it doesn't have to be, because the Prophet ﷺ did not necessarily tell them, that you have to be intending. And they did not always do these things in preparation for jihad. These were existing sports during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and people did not always, they did them for also, to some extent, fun. And because it serves the purpose, it serves a good purpose, which is preparation. And like I said before, military preparedness is not a controversial thing. Human beings agree on this. How many countries do we have in the world now? They keep on increasing. 199 members or 201 something in the United Nations now. So all 200 companies, approximately, I could actually say companies now. All 200 countries have armies. So that preparedness is not something that you should shy away from. Really, no. All people had armies. And the whole concept is, the whole concept is that the concept of war in Islam, and these are the three things that you need to remember. War in Islam has nothing to do with terrorism, or terrorism doesn't have anything to do with war in Islam. War in Islam is the concept of just war, because whoever your interlocutor will be, they do recognize the concept of just war. So when we talk about war in Islam, we're talking about just war, where the motivation is just and pure. And the third one that is to be mentioned as well is the difference between modern war and war in antiquity. Modern war, to be just, you really have to prove it, because it's so much destruction and devastation that you cannot compare modern war to war when people used to go out of town and open field and two sort of armies coming together, fighting for a day or two, and that's it. Modern war is a completely different story. different story. So these are the three things that you want to remember. But just remember this, it is just war that has been legislated. The commentary on this is a long commentary. But if I may point you to my article on reflections on terrorism, it will help. If reflections on terrorism. If you just put my name and reflections on terrorism, the article will come up. Okay. Now, but we agreed that there will have to be some bounds here. It's not like completely, it's not like we're going to sort of turn the hadith off and just, do our own thing. Are there any activities that you could think of that would not be, we said all haram activities are out. We started by saying that. But are there any activities that are not haram that would not qualify for permissible prize money or ju'l or sabaq?
Yes.
Like what?
Hot dog eating competition.
Hot dog eating competition. Hot dog eating.
Hot dog eating competitions. Oh, there is something like this?
He eats like 29 inches of water.
Video game competition.
Okay. That was actually a good one. Huh? Games of chance. Well, then we will have to talk about permissibility first, and then once we clear the permissibility issue, then we may come here.
What about video game competitions?
Huh?
Video game competitions.
Video game competitions, that is going to be, see, whenever we get into human subjectivity, whenever it is a matter of judgment and assessment, yes?
Beauty pageants.
Beauty pageants. Oh, yes. Why were these examples better than the video games thing? Because video games, like I said before, sometimes they're just like senseless and so on. But a lot of people could say that, in fact, you guys don't know what you're talking about. War nowadays is all about this. Sort of, it's always, it's remote control war. So it's about your precision and hitting your target, and video games enable you, if they do. I mean, anyway, but it's subject to judgment. Then the Shaykh said, فإن كان الجعل من غير المستبقين جاز وهو للسابق منهما. Well, let us first finish all the awards so that we can go. So now we said it has to figure out permissible or not permissible. We have to figure out whether permissible or not permissible. And if they are permissible, whether they are beneficial or not. Beneficial or not. Beneficial here means physical and intellectual, if you take in consideration the Hanafi position. The Hanafis did not say intellectual, to be honest, bardu. So they said like Islamic sciences, Quran and Sunnah, we're expanding. Obviously, contemporary times, we're expanding this stuff. So beneficial and not beneficial. And then what about the sort of the awards that companies give? Like a company would give an award, for instance, for if you buy a certain product or something, and you could get into a draw, and they can give you an award if you come out. Raffles and stuff. What about those things? Well, the first thing that you have to ask yourself about is a purchase required or not required? Purchase required purchase not required. If a purchase is not required and the company will give an award to people, then if the purchase is not required, then at least some activity is required. And if this activity then will be, this activity in this case will be subject to this discussion. Is this activity beneficial or not beneficial? If this activity was beneficial, then the award is permissible. If this activity was not beneficial, then the award is impermissible. But if a purchase is required, can those companies give awards by drawing lots? Qur'ah, or drawing lots. Can those companies give awards? Well, first of all, some of the scholars, like Sheikh ibn Baz, Allah yarhamu, they said that determining the winner by drawing lots is not permissible to begin with. So all of the discussion now is void. There is, it's not permissible to determine a winner by drawing lots. Drawing lots is permissible if you're gonna draw lots for the first row in the masjid or the azan or something of this nature. But for a prize, to determine a prize is not permissible. The majority of the scholars said drawing lots to determine a winner in a competition is permissible. So according to the majority of the scholars, it is permissible drawing lots. Okay, so now a purchase is required. Then we have three different positions. One position is the position of many mashayikh, including Sheikh ibn Jibreen rahimahullah. He said impermissible. If a purchase is required, impermissible. Sheikh Mustafa Zarqa rahimahullah said if a purchase is required, small prizes are permissible, not large prizes, small prizes, not anything that is significant, but like pens and stuff like this would be permissible. And Sheikh Muhammad Uthman Shubayr rahimahullah, he actually wrote a book on حكم المسابقات المعاصرة في ضوء الفقه الإسلامي. So it is a paper that he presented to Majma' al-Fiqh al-Islami, to the International Islamic Fiqh Academy, that has been later converted into a book or rendered into a book. And he said that the prizes should be permissible. That whether they are big or small, that doesn't matter. All prizes should be permissible. But they all added a contingency here. Anyone who said it is permissible, they said given that the prize money is not coming out of the purchase, is not, you don't add the prize money to the purchase price. Is that what you wanted to ask about?
I think so, yeah. Just when you say purchase required, it's not separate.
Purchase required.
Just for entry into the competition.
Yeah.
It's
No.
like I go buy a bottle of water, and then automatically by buying that bottle of water, I've entered into a competition.
Yes.
Rather than buying an entry into a competition.
No, you're buying. The company will say that they will be drawing lots to determine the winner out of the people who will buy. It's like when you buy Coca-Cola, for instance, and they have like prizes. They used to do this in the past, right? Or if they find some, yes, okay. So now, if the company, they all said, if the company is basically adding to the price of the product, increasing the price of the product, to make up for the prize that they will give to the winners, then that is not permissible. And why is it not permissible in this case? because you're talking now about the competitors. You're talking about all of us now buying Coca-Cola. 100 of us buying, like water bottles, for instance. And 10 out of the 100 will win. Where are they getting the money from? From the 100. Isn't that just like gambling? Yes. Okay. So they said, no, it would not be permissible in this case if the buyers are the ones who are contributing to the prize that one of them will win or some of them will win. If the company, out of the goodness of their heart, or to promote their product or something, it is the same price that they would charge for this bottle of water anywhere. But they said, we will give the first, we will give 10 people, or we'll give one person, or whatever, a prize. Then in this case, it would be permissible. Why? Because the prize is coming from a different entity outside of the participants. Outside of the participants, which we will come to discuss right now. And maybe we should have deferred to this discussion. But anyway, we will come to discuss this concept, that the prize needs to come from an entity other than the competitors so that it would not be considered gambling. What about discount cards and loyalty programs? What about discount cards and loyalty programs? Well, discount cards, like Costco and so on. Okay, is this discount, is there a fee? Yes, no. If there is no fee, then no one will say discount cards are a bad thing. Why would they be bad if there is no fee? No, and there will be no controversy. So the company just decided to give people discount cards, to give you a discount. That's fine. But if there is a fee, so what is the problem if there is a fee? The problem if there is a fee is that we are, the members, participants, the clients, etc. We're all contributing to this pool, and some of us will get a lot more of this pool than others. But there is a little bit of difference here between this and gambling. Why? Because this is not based on luck, it is based on your purchasing power. You will go more often to Costco and buy more stuff from Costco. It is not drawing lots. It is, so there is a little bit of a wrinkle here that is not making it exactly the same. You don't apply, but is there element of gharar, undue risk taking? There is an element of gharar here, because like when we buy when we get those discount cards and you pay like $400 for the discount cards, I don't know how much discounts I will get. You don't know how much discounts you'll get. So we're buying, you and I, we're getting the discount card for $400. You end up making $1,000 in discounts, and I end up making none, or $10, or what. There is no clarity. A transaction, because we said that part of the transparency is important in Islamic transactions, financial transactions. There is some ambiguity, some risk-taking, less clarity. Can this gharar be tolerated? That's the idea. Well, can this gharar be overlooked because it is not too much, and then someone could say, well, you could make your own assessment, like you know what you're gonna buy through the year. The gharar is not that great. Costco, Some people said that. I don't believe that. But anyway, some people say that this gharar could be tolerated. But what I do believe is that if these discount cards, if the fee in the discount cards is minimal to insignificant to basically being just for administrative fees and things of that nature, to keep track, because to establish a discount program, they need infrastructure for this, because they need to keep track of people, and and if the membership is basically to cover the expenses of the administrative work required for those programs to function, then those memberships would be permissible. Those fees would be permissible. Is that clear? The same applies to loyalty program, and think in this way in general. The participants should not, if it comes from a third, if it comes from an outside entity, then it is permissible, likely, if the activity itself is permissible or so. But the participants should not be the ones contributing the prize towards one of them, because that is the essence of gambling. Huh? Well, let's, okay, if it is this ambiguation, go ahead.
It's probably on terminology. When we say discount cards, does that also include, do you mean like a dual meaning membership and discount? Because with Costco, things might be on sale, but you need the membership card just to get in and make purchases. So I don't necessarily see it as a discount card, it's on a membership. You're paying for a membership.
Okay. Well, that adds a little complication to it also. Okay, but someone could say that there are a lot of services at Costco, so to become a member of that club, I guess, has a certain value. But the contract here, the subject matter of the contract, محل العقد here, is a little bit still ambiguous. Because what do you mean by membership? Like what is the subject matter of the contract between, like I'm buying membership. What is the subject matter of the contract? What is it, what is the aqd for? What are the services / the commodities? Because whenever you pay for something, you're paying for a service or commodity, usufruct or property, ayn or manfa'a. Ayn means property, manfa'a means benefit, service, usufruct, service or the usufruct of a property. But at any rate, it means both, discount and membership. Then the Sheikh said, فإن كان الجعل من غير المستبقين جاز وهو للسابق منهما. The prize money is permissible if it is offered by somebody other than the racers. It goes to the one who wins the race. The prize money is permissible if it is offered by, and the Maliki said it has to be offered by the authorities, the Imam, otherwise not permissible. But the rest of them said anyone, as long as it is from a different entity other than the participants, then it is permissible. Right? So any competition that is permissible, if I come and say to you, whoever of you wins this, I will give them a prize, that is okay. But he said what is not permissible, because it will be like gambling, if it is coming from the participants. It's coming from the participants and going to one or some of them. He said, وإن أخرج جميعا لم يجوز إلا أن يدخل بينهما محللا يكافئ فرسه فرسيهما أو بعيره بعيريهما أو رميه رميهما لقول رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من أدخل فرسا بين فرسين يعني وهو لا يؤمن أن يسبق فليس بقمار، ومن أدخل فرسا بين فرسين وقد أمن أن يسبق فهو قمار، فإن سبقهما أحرز سبقيهما، وإن سبق أحدهما أحرز سبقه وأخذ سبق صاحبه. It's not lawful for both of them to offer prize money unless a muhallil whose horse or camel or archery or ability to, at archery is equivalent to theirs enters the race with them. The basis of this ruling, and we will say that the muhallil is someone who will not contribute to the prize. Here's X and Y. They want to race, let us say, on foot, whatever that we will make permissible now based on our expansion. They want to race on foot. And they say, I will contribute $10. Y will say, I'll contribute $10. Whoever wins will take 20. That is impermissible by agreement. Impermissible, but not by agreement. Because Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah said it is permissible. Because these are not spectators, these are not gambling. This is a real competition between participants. He said that this hadith that is reported here is not authentic, and the hadith is very controversial, and most of the people did not authenticate the hadith, but it has been acted upon, and it has been the agreement of the four mazahib. Let me say the hadith first. The basis of this is the ruling is the Prophet's hadith. If one enters a horse with two others, when he or she is not certain that it can win, it is not gambling. But when one enters a horse with two others, but is certain it can win, it is gambling. If the muhallil beats them, is uncertain, should be, he can win, it is gambling. If the muhallil beats them, he or she takes the contributions of the other two contestants who offered the prize money. If one of the other two contestants wins, the winner takes his or her own contribution and also that of the other contributor. Okay, so X and Y. X says I'll contribute 10, Y said I'll contribute 10. That is not halal according to the four mazahib. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah said it is halal. This is not like gambling. These are contestants. They're not spectators. There is an activity that they're doing, and they're trying to encourage each other, sort of to, it's this. He said that it is even more fair than to add to them Z just for the mere purpose of avoiding gambling. He said that to add Z, the four mazahib acted upon the apparent meaning of this hadith. To them, they accepted the meaning of this hadith, even though transmission-wise, the hadith may not be authentic. But they accepted the meaning of this hadith. And the hadith said, X and Y cannot do this unless they add another competitor to them that may win. If they add another competitor and they are certain he will not win, then it's just like a sort of a trick that they're playing. But if they add another competitor that may win, then in this case, X will contribute 10, Y will contribute 10. If X and Z will contribute none to be halal. If X wins, X takes 20. If Y wins, he will not take 20. He will keep his 10 and take the 10 that Y contributed. If Y wins, Y will take 10, keep his 10 and take the 10 that he contributed. If Z wins, Z will take 20. Z will take 20. This arrangement will make it halal according to the Hanafis, Shafi'is, and Hanbalis. Maliki said no. Muhallil, no muhallil, it is not halal. The money is not contributed by the participants. The participants do not contribute the money towards the prize. Maliki said all of that is not halal, whether it is between X and Y alone or they add Z to it. So how do the Maliki reply to the hadith? They said it's not authentic. How does Ibn Taymiyyah reply to the hadith when he said both are halal? He said it's not authentic. But the Maliki said it's not authentic, and then they did not allow X and Y to do this. Ibn Taymiyyah said it's not authentic, and he allowed X and Y to do it alone. 10 from X, 10 from Y, whoever wins the competition will get the award. But certainly to be on the safe side, and this is, we said before, when do we depart from the agreement of the four mazahib? If this is a position of a mujtahid, if it has some justification in the sharia, and there is a need for it, a need for this position. Like the triple divorce, the threefold divorce. There is a need, it's a position of a mujtahid, Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, and it has some justification in the sharia. But in a scenario like this, it is a position of a mujtahid. It does have some justification of the sharia. He will argue that this hadith is not authentic. And he will argue the fairness of this sort of activity. But is there a need? There is no need. No one will be really hurt if they don't, do this. If they don't have this type of these types of prizes. Okay, so is it clear now? So the prize, the award should not be contributed by the participants unless they add someone who is a muhallil, according to the Hanafis, Shafi'is, and Hanbalis, not the Malikis. Unless they add someone who is a muhallil. Muhallil means what? To make something halal. It's like the muhallil in family law, the one who will marry a woman who was divorced 3 times to make her halal for her first husband. It's called muhallil. Muhallil here in financial transactions is the one who enters into the competition without contributing to make the competition halal. It's like, what do they call this? Like, is there a word for this? Anyway. But that's the concept here. Then the Sheikh said, وَلَا بُدَّ مِنْ تَحْدِيدِ الْمَسَافَةِ وَبَيَانِ الْغَايَةِ وَقَدْرِ الْإِصَابَةِ وَصِفَتِهَا وَعَدَدِ الرِّشْقِ. عدد الرِّشْقِ. الرِّشْقِ is the verb noun from رَشَقَ, which is to throw. So he said, it's essential to define the distance of the race, the termination point, and for archery, the accuracy for hitting the target, its character and number of hits, the character of the target. What is the target? What is it that we are, what is considered accurate? He said a shooting or archery contest is all about hitting. The target is not a matter of distance. So when, he was just talking about the details of how to determine the winner. Clarity. Everything has to be transparent. Everything has to be transparent so that you avoid disputation. And all of this is not based on Quran and Sunnah. The concepts are based on Quran and Sunnah. Concepts are what? Fairness and transparency, and avoid disputation as much as you can. Are these changeable, like depending on the sport and depending on the customs and so on and so forth? Yes. So you will have to determine the parameters that you will go by to determine the winner, and you have to be transparent about them. Then that is the end of it in this chapter. Sabaq. Sabaq is the verb noun. Sabaq is the name of the prize. Sabq is the verb noun. Sabq, which is to outdoing. To come first is called sabq. That's the verbal noun. Okay, now al-wadi'a, deposits for safekeeping, and that chapter is very small, so if you allow me 5 minutes over the time, I'll be able to finish, inshallah. The Sheikh said, chapter on the deposits for safekeeping or wadi'a, باب الوديعة, وهي أمانة لا ضمان فيها على المودع ما لم يتعد. The wadi'a is a trust with no liability on the part of the trustee unless they transgress. With no liability on the part of trustee unless they transgress. We said several times before, whenever someone has the property of someone else, there are two different types here. If you have the property of someone else, it is in your hand. This hand is called yad amana or yad ariya. So yad amana, yad ariya. Yad means hand. Amana means a trust. Hand, trust. Yad ariya. Yad means hand. Ariya means loan. Something that is being loaned for the usufruct of it, the benefit of. Okay, so, and here you will have a list of things that are considered amana. If you are a wakil, agent, someone's agent, is your hand a hand of trust or a hand of loan? Trust, are you a borrower or trustee? You are a trustee. So it will be here. Okay. If someone left something for you for safekeeping, deposit for safekeeping, are you trustee or a borrower? Trustee. So trustees in general, in all the fiqh, trustees, when are they liable damin? When are they damin? Or negligence. Ta'addi aw tafrit. Ta'addin aw tafrit. Ta'addi means transgression. Tafrit means negligence. Ta'addi means doing something that you were not supposed to do. Tafrit meaning failing to do something that you were supposed to do. That's the difference between ta'addi and tafrit. Ta'addi, you did something you were not supposed to do. Tafrit, you did not do something you were supposed to do. Negligence. So if someone leaves something with you for safekeeping, then they are amin. Musta'man, mu'taman, they are trusted, and in this case they would only be liable if they transgressed or neglected. What about banks? When you leave your money in a checking account, left your money in a checking account, it's amana. Okay. So is the bank liable now or not liable? Not liable. Huh? Okay. Okay. So here the fuqaha have to come in and do istihsan, because it looks like this is a wadi'a. It's actually called wadi'a. And the wadi'a in the bank, it's called wadi'a. Deposit money in the bank. But the fuqaha said those banks use this money, which violates the concept of wadi'a. Therefore, we will make them liable. So the bank should be liable for these wada'a, because they use that money, and the wadi'a should not be used for the benefit of al-muda, or the trustee. Okay. Then the Sheikh said, وَإِن لَمْ يَحْفَظْهَا فِي حِرْزِ مِثْلِهَا أَوْ مِثْلِ الْحِرْزِ الَّذِي أُمِرَ بِإِحْرَازِهَا فِيهِ أَوْ تَصَرَّفَ فِيهَا لِنَفْسِهِ أَوْ خَلَطَهَا بِمَا لَا تَتَمَيَّزْ مِنْهُ أَوْ أَخْرَجَهَا لِيُنْفِقَهَا ثُمَّ رَدَّهَا أَوْ كَسَرَ ختم كيسها أو جحدها أو امتنع من ردها عند طلبها مع إمكانه ضامنها. Okay, Here are all exceptions from the non-liability of the trustee. Here we will make him liable. Here we will make him liable. Take these examples. If they did not preserve it in a hirz, safe place, befitting its like, because everything has a different, so I can't put the car into like a sort of a safety box or whatever. So it has to be left on the street. But if I leave it far away in an abandoned area, that is not hirz mithliha. If I leave it on a sort of a busy street in front of my house, then I did not commit negligence. But if I have like a diamond ring, it has, whatever. You get the concept. It has to be that safe place has to be befitting its like, or in a hirz as directed. If the mudi', if the owner of the property told me keep it in that room, keep it here, and I listened to them, I am not responsible, even if it is not befitting of its like. But that was the wish of the owner. I'm not responsible. Okay. Or used it. If I use it, I will be liable. Banks, for their own interests, or coalesced it with another so that it became an inseparable part of a whole. So, flour, you added it to your flour. Now you're liable. You will have to give me the flour regardless of whatever happens. If some of the flour is lost, all of the flour is lost, you added it to your flour, became inseparable, then you're liable. You have to give me my flour back. Or took it out to spend it and then returned it. If you even take it out to spend it, like I leave something with you, I leave like money with you, and you take it out, take some out to spend it, and then return it. If you take it out and to spend it and then return it, and after you return it to the safe place, the money is lost, you're liable. Because at one point, there was an interruption of the amana. That interruption to establish the state of amin, yad al-amana. Whenever someone possesses money, the default is that if I have your money, I am liable. The default is not that I am amin. The default is that I am liable. Now, you gave me something to keep, so that is like an exception of the default. I took it out and spent it. That's interruption of the default. That is interruption of the exception. Going back to the default, I am liable. I put it back in, but when I put it back in, you were not around to re-establish the exception, which is that I am amin, I am not damin. I am entrusted, I am not liable. You were not around. So no re-establishment of the exception. I will continue to be damin. When is it that I could be amin? If I inform you that I took it out and I'll put it back in, and you sanction this and you re-establish by agreement my state of amana, or my being amin, mu'taman, musta'man, etc., trustee. Then he said, these are things that will make you liable. Or undid its seal. If you just undo the seal, someone leaves something with you in a box, and you open the box. Someone leaves something with you in a box, and you undo the seal of the box. That's it, you're liable. Regardless, you're going to be liable. then or denied receiving it. At one point, if you denied and then you admitted, you're liable. Or resisted returning it upon being demanded despite their ability to do so, then he or she will become liable for it. Then he or she will become liable for it. Because you, by denying that you received it, by refusing to return it, at one point you switched from mu'taman to what? Ghasib. Ghasib, which is the one who takes the, seizure by unlawful seizure by force. Unlawful seizure by force. When you seize someone's property by force. So you made yourself a ghasib. Now, after you made yourself a ghasib, we go back to the default. You are liable. Liable. Okay. Then the Sheikh said, وَإِنْ قَالْ مَا أَوْدَعْتَنِي ثُمَّ ادَّعَى تَلَفَهَا أَوْ رَدَّهَا لَمْ يُقْبَلْ مِنْهُ وَإِنْ قَالْ مَا لَكَ عِنْدِي شَيْءٍ ثُمَّ ادَّعَى رَدَّهَا أَوْ تَلَفَهَا قُبِلَ مِنْهُ. If he or she said, you did not leave anything with me, then they claimed its damage or loss, or its return to the depositor, their claim will not be accepted from them. Why? Because they're being inconsistent. Because he said, you did not leave anything with me, and then he said, no, it was lost. Then that inconsistency will make them liable. We will not take, because in general, al-mu'taman, not only that they're not liable, but al-mu'taman will be believed in the court. Because if you trusted them, that is your own tazkiyah of them. You have trusted them. So then you cannot accuse them of wrongdoing without bayyina, proof. Then the bayyina will be on the lender, or the owner of the money will have to establish the bayyina that the mu'taman, the trustee, betrayed the trust. The mu'taman will only need to take an oath, and that's it, they walk away. Okay. Now, if they said, I owe you nothing, and then claimed its return, damage, or loss, it will be accepted. What's he trying to say here? That the default is that we will believe them. If what they're saying can be reconciled, they said different statement. You come and said, you owe me $20,000, and I say I owe you nothing, and then later, I say I return the money to you. Can we reconcile between the two statements? Yes, because when I said I owe you nothing, I meant I returned the money to you. We can be reconciled. But the first, the inconsistency was not reconcilable. When you deny that you received anything and then say it was lost, then that's irreconcilable. But the point that he's trying to make here is that we will believe the mu'taman as much as we can. We will believe the mu'taman as much as we can. Finally, the Sheikh talked about a completely different thing, and he said, this is the only sentence in this book about al-'ariyah. He said, وَالْعَارِيَةُ مَضْمُونَةٌ وَإِنْ لَمْ يَتَعَدَّ فِيهَا الْمُسْتَعِيرُ. A loan for use, will be guaranteed even if the borrower did not transgress. Loan for use will be guaranteed even if the borrower did not transgress, because the Prophet ﷺ said, al-'ariyatu mu'addah wal-za'imu gharim wal-daynu maqdi. Al-'ariyatu mu'addah. Al-'ariyatu mu'addah. Which means what? Al-'ariyah, an item that was borrowed, must be returned. Mu'addah must be returned. So, which means what? It means that regardless of what happened, and that makes sense, right? Because you borrowed this from me for your own interest. So you should be liable if you were benefiting from the usufruct, of this property during this time, you should be liable. If it was lost, you're liable. So if you borrow someone's car and you total it, you're liable. If they left it with you because they're traveling and they wanted you to keep it for them, and it gets, without your transgression or negligence, totaled, you're not liable. It's their loss, not yours. Clear? That is the difference between the ariya and the wadi'a. Deposit for safekeeping and loan for use, or a borrowed item. قولوا قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك اشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك.